Welcome, apprentices. This is the Dungeon Masters Apprentice, and I'm your friendly neighborhood Dungeon Master. And today we're going to talk about character agency. First, what is the definition of agency? And what does it mean for someone to have agency? Agency means an anonymous being, such as a character or a human being, being able to make plans, carry out actions, or make informed decisions based on their knowledge and intentions. Now, how can characters have agency, and what does that mean in compared to player agency? Let's find out. In my last video, we answered the 6 questions every Dungeon Master should ask himself when he's starting a new campaign. If you haven't seen that video yet, after this one, go back and watch that one. First, we have to remember that the modern gaming style is that we are telling a story. The story of the characters. So, the DM creates a world, and then together the Dungeon Master and the players allow the characters' adventures to unfold. Now, how that happens can have a drastic effect. As the adventures unfold, characters will level up and gain various abilities and benefits on the mood and the style of the campaign that you're running. In the first edition of AD&D, the rules stated that whenever a character leveled up, their advancement stopped until they could travel to a town, hire some sort of expert to teach them, and then be in training a non-trivial amount of time. Whereas today's game in 5e, those rules are still there, but they're optional. And most Dungeon Masters play with the idea that after a long rest, all these new abilities, poof, just appear, like a video game. On the one hand, you have the players limited in the ability to go up until they find a trainer willing to train them, and the money to pay him. And then they're limited to what abilities or spells that trainer has that he can impart to them. On the other hand, there's some DMs that allow players to advance their characters whenever the characters level up, short rest, long rest, maybe in the middle even of combat. And they allow the players to pick from any and all of the abilities in the player's handbook. Now, that second ability is based on player agency, because the player knows everything about the game. He knows everything in the player's handbook, maybe supplementals. He might even know what's going on in this module. You never know. Is there possibly a happy middle ground between these two extremes? This is what I do. How about if you, as the DM, sit down with the player. Together they pick the spells, feats, abilities that the character is going to be working on, and that is kept in mind through the advancement of that level. Mark down any time the character takes an action that could be deemed beneficial to learning the new ability. The players could be easily just assumed to be working on these new abilities during long rests, their time in town, whenever they have time to be able to try to perfect something new, before they try to use them in a real life situation. Or maybe you want to be a little bit more nitpicky and have them declare whatever they're doing during a long rest. It's up to you as the DM. Then, once they achieve this new level, assign a random percentage chance. Say, if they have been working on it, but nothing extraordinary happened, a base 70% chance that after every long rest, they roll, and if they roll under 70%, they gain this new ability. In other words, they practiced, they tried things new, they honed their bodies, and now something clicked and it just worked right. And now they feel comfortable to be able to place that into use in a real world situation. What this system does is allow the player some agency to choose what the character is going to become at the end of its next level, and at the same time it allows the Dungeon Master to limit what is going to be available in his own world. And together, this is creating something that cloaks player agency into the feel of character agency, which is a much more broad storytelling feel than video game-esque player agency. Now, the key is a good working relationship between the player and the DM. Except for the most generic of campaigns, some skills, feats, abilities, spells, especially spells, are limited or non-existent, rare in this world. So to find somebody that's a trainer that can impart that knowledge is very important. And it's okay for you as a DM to limit things. Since the very game began, most DMs decided that the wish spell was either very rare, almost non-existent, or just made it impossible in the game. Nobody could get a wish spell. Now at early levels, this is very easy to implement because it can be assumed that, say for a fighter, these new skills have been told and shown and trained into the new young fighter, but he never mastered these abilities yet. And so he's been working on them, and he's been focusing on these one set at a time. And as he goes up in levels, things start to gel and click for him, and these abilities are gained. And for a magic user, it's quite possible that the spells she wants are the ones her master wrote down in her spell book, and she'd just never been able to fully comprehend them, fully understand them, until she gained a level. Later on, it's more in the purview of the Dungeon Master to arrange for these things to happen. Wandering NPC while they're traveling can be met up, and for either money or just from camaraderie, be able to show the young fighter a new move or two that he can now work through experimentation and practice until it will gel for him in the next level, and finally the ability will be available. The key to implementing character agency is definitely not railroading the players. This is absolutely the wrong way to play Dungeons & Dragons. So you need to make sure that the players are the ones choosing what abilities among the list that you present as available they are choosing. And I suggest, even from session 0 at the very beginning of the game, map out some of the, map out all of the available abilities that you're going to have in your game so that they know what they can work for. No player wants to know that he's been working for something that he thinks exists, only for the DM later to tell him it doesn't. So to allow player agency to be cloaked as character agency, and to be able to have the DM still control his game, it has to be a one-to-one relationship, very honest relationship between the players and the Dungeon Master on what is available. But never, ever give in to a player because something he wants if you know that it absolutely does not belong in your game. If you don't want the wish spell to exist, it doesn't exist. No matter how much he wants to research it, no matter how much he wants to pour in money to find trainers to train him, that spell doesn't exist. That ability doesn't exist. It's just not going to work. So, never give the psionicist the ability to blast through walls in the dungeon. And can you believe I made that mistake? And can you believe that I'm the one that suggested it? So this goes to show you that not everything printed is a good idea in your game. I hope you enjoy this adventure we're having where I create my world and explain how I game master my games. So come back for the next installment where I start fleshing out one of the questions that I answered in a previous video, the 6 questions every Dungeon Master needs to answer before starting his next campaign. So if you like this video, please like. And if you're enjoying this journey with me, please subscribe. And if you do subscribe, please hit that bell icon so that you get notified every time I upload new content. Until then, adventure on!